The sound of ripping fabric echoed through Lincoln High's East Corridor as Tyler Hutchinson's hands tore through Jasmine Carter's shirt, exposing her worn undershirt to dozens of laughing students filming with their phones. She'd transferred here just 3 weeks ago, keeping her head down, speaking only when spoken to, but that Tuesday morning in October, something inside her snapped. What Tyler and his crew didn't know was that the quiet black girl they'd chosen as their latest victim had spent the last 8 years training in a dojo where her sensei's first lesson was never start a fight, but always know how to end one. Jasmine Carter arrived at Lincoln High School on a gray Monday morning in early October, her mother's beat-up Honda Civic pulling away from the curb with a cloud of exhaust that matched the color of the sky. She clutched her second-hand backpack against her chest, the straps worn thin from years of use, her fingers tracing the patches her grandmother had sewn over the holes. At 17, she'd already attended 4 different schools in 3 states, each move triggered by her mother's desperate search for better-paying nursing jobs to keep them afloat after her father's death 5 years ago. The main entrance of Lincoln High loomed before her like a fortress of red brick and judgment. Students streamed past in clusters, their designer clothes and confident laughter creating an invisible barrier she knew she'd struggle to cross. Jasmine had learned long ago that being the new kid meant being invisible was safer than being noticed. Being black in predominantly white schools added another layer of complexity to that invisibility, a tightrope walk between not standing out enough to become a target and not blending in enough to disappear entirely. She found the main office after 10 minutes of wandering through identical hallways, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows on faces that barely glanced her way. The secretary, a middle-aged woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and nails that clicked against her keyboard, looked up with a kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You must be Jasmine Carter," she said, pronouncing the name like it left a strange taste in her mouth. "Here's your schedule. Your first class is AP History with Mr. Peterson. Room 203. Try not to be late." The dismissal was clear. Jasmine took the paper, noting how the woman immediately turned back to her computer screen as if she'd already ceased to exist. She navigated the crowded hallways, keeping her eyes down, counting room numbers under her breath. 201. 202. The door to room 203 was already closed. Through the narrow window, she could see Mr. Peterson mid-lecture, his hands animated as he discussed something that had the class leaning forward in their seats. She knocked softly, then harder. When no one responded, the door swung open, and 30 pairs of eyes turned to stare at her. Mr. Peterson, a tall man with graying temples and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, smiled genuinely. "You must be our new student, Jasmine, right? Come in. Come in, class. This is Jasmine Carter. She's joining us from," he glanced at his roster, "Chicago. Let's make her feel welcome." A few mumbled greetings followed as Jasmine made her way to the only empty seat, middle row, right side, directly in front of Tyler Hutchinson. She felt his presence before she saw him. That particular energy that radiates from someone used to taking up more space than they need, used to others moving out of their way. When she sat down, she heard his chair scrape backward, followed by a low whistle. "Dom. Peterson, you giving us charity cases now?" Tyler's voice was loud enough to carry but low enough to maintain plausible deniability. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room. Mr. Peterson's expression hardened. "Mr. Hutchinson, that's your first and only warning. Another comment like that and you'll be explaining yourself to Principal Morrison." Tyler raised his hands in mock surrender, his blue eyes glinting with amusement. "Just making conversation. Mr. P. Trying to be welcoming like you said?" Jasmine kept her eyes forward, her spine straight, even as she felt heat creeping up her neck. She'd heard worse, endured worse, but something about the casual cruelty in his voice, the easy confidence that came from never facing real consequences, made her fingers curl around her pencil until her knuckles ached. The rest of the class passed in a blur. She took notes mechanically, her handwriting neat and precise, a habit drilled into her by her mother who always said education was the only thing no one could take away from you. But she could feel Tyler's eyes on the back of her head, could hear him whispering to his friends Brad Morrison and Jake Chenther's stifled laughter, a constant background noise to Mr. Peterson's lecture on the civil rights movement. The irony wasn't lost on her. When the bell rang, she gathered her things quickly, hoping to disappear into the crowd before Tyler could corner her. But he was faster, his 6'2" frame blocking her path to the door. "Hey, charity case," he said, loud enough for the lingering students to hear. "Where you running off to? Don't they teach manners in Chicago?" Jasmine looked up at him. Really looked at him for the first time. Tyler Hutchinson was what her grandmother would have called trouble wrapped in privilege. Quarterback of the football team, son of a prominent lawyer and a real estate developer, the kind of kid who'd been told he was special from the moment he could walk. His Letterman jacket hung off broad shoulders, his blonde hair perfectly styled. His smile, the practiced charm of someone who'd never had to develop a real personality. "Excuse me," she said quietly, trying to step around him. He moved with her, maintaining the block. "I'm talking to you. See, at Lincoln High, we have certain standards, certain expectations. And you?" He looked her up and down, his gaze lingering on her faded jeans and secondhand sneakers. "You're bringing down the property values just by being here. Mr. Hutchinson." Mr. Peterson's voice cut through the tension. "I believe you have a class to get to." Now, Tyler's smile never wavered. "Sure thing, Mr. P. Just being friendly." He shoulder-checked Jasmine as he passed, hard enough to make her stumble. "See you around? Charity case?" Brad and Jake followed him out, their laughter echoing in the hallway. Jasmine stood frozen for a moment, her hands trembling with suppressed rage. Mr. Peterson approached her, his expression sympathetic. "I'm sorry about that," he said quietly. "Tyler can be difficult. If he gives you any more trouble, please let me know. My door is always open." She nodded, not trusting her voice, and fled to her next class. The rest of the day followed a similar pattern. In each class, whispers followed her entrance. In the cafeteria, she sat alone at a corner table, picking at the free lunch that marked her as different as clearly as a scarlet letter. She watched Tyler hold court at the center table, surrounded by teammates and cheerleaders, his voice carrying across the room as he made jokes she couldn't quite hear but knew were about her from the way people kept glancing in her direction. By the time she reached her locker at the end of the day, she was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with academics. She spun the combination with practiced ease. She'd gotten good at memorizing numbers quickly, another survival skill learned from too many moves, and opened it to find a note taped inside. "Go back to where you came from," written in bold black marker. She stared at it for a long moment, then crumpled it up and shoved it into her pocket. As she grabbed her books, she sensed someone behind her. In the reflection of her locker mirror, she saw Tyler and his crew approaching. "Hey, charity case," Tyler called out. "Find any food stamps in there? Maybe some welfare checks?" She closed her locker and turned to face them, her expression carefully neutral. "What do you want?" "What do I want?" Tyler laughed, looking at his friends like she'd said something hilarious. "I want to know why Peterson expects us to sit in class with someone who probably can't even afford the textbooks. I want to know why my parents' tax dollars are being wasted on people like you." "People like me?" The words came out before she could stop them. "Yeah." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne mixed with the mint gum he was chewing. "People who don't belong. People who drag down everyone around them. People who should know their place." Brad laughed. "Damn, Tyler. Tell her how you really feel." "I'm just being honest," Tyler said, his eyes never leaving Jasmine's face. "See? Charity case. Lincoln High has a certain reputation. We're talking about kids who are going to Ivy Leagues, who are going to run companies and countries. And then there's you." He reached out and flicked her backpack strap. "With your thrift store clothes and your free lunch and your probably can't even afford college future, you're like a stain on a white shirt. No matter how small, everyone can see it." Jake nodded eagerly, always ready to follow Tyler's lead. "Yeah, and stains need to be cleaned up." Jasmine felt something shift inside her chest, a familiar tightening that she recognized from years of training. Her sensei's voice echoed in her mind. "Anger is fire. Controlled. It forges steel, uncontrolled. It burns everything, including yourself. She took a deep breath, centering herself the way she'd been taught. Are you done? Tyler blinked, clearly not expecting such a calm response. What? I asked if you were done. She adjusted her backpack straps, her movements deliberate and controlled. Because I have a bus to catch. And listening to you trying to sound intelligent is making me late. Brad made an ooh sound, nudging Tyler. Yo, she's got jokes. Tyler's face flushed red. You think you're funny? No, Jasmine said evenly. I think you're boring. I've met guys like you at every school I've been to. Same tired insults. Same need to make themselves feel big by making others feel small. The only difference is the zip code. She tried to walk past them, but Tyler grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. I'm not done talking to you. Everything slowed down. Jasmine looked at his hand on her arm, then up at his face. She could break his grip in 3 different ways, could have him on the ground in 2 moves, could make him regret ever touching her, in ways that would have him waking up in cold sweats for months. Instead, she said quietly, let go. Or what? He squeezed harder. What are you gonna do? Charity case? Call for help? Nobody here's gonna help you. You're nobody. You're nothing. You're Mr. Hutchinson. Tyler released her arm as Miss Prady Rodriguez, the vice principal, rounded the corner. She was a compact woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Is there a problem here? She asked, looking between them. No problem, Miss R. Tyler said smoothly, his entire demeanor shifting to charming student mode. Just welcoming our new student to Lincoln High. Right. Yasmin? All eyes turned to her. She could see it clearly, the expectation that she would play along, that she would smile and nod and pretend this was all normal. The safe choice. The smart choice. Right? She said finally, hating herself for it. Miss. Rodriguez studied them for a moment longer, then nodded. Good. Tyler, don't you have practice? I'm sure Coach Williams wouldn't appreciate you being late. On my way. He flashed that practice smile. See you tomorrow. Jasmine. Can't wait to get to know you better. The threat in his words was as clear as if he'd written it in neon. That night, Jasmine sat on her bed in the small apartment she shared with her mother, staring at the bruises forming on her arm. 5 perfect fingerprints in purple and blue. A reminder that invisibility was an illusion she couldn't afford. Her mother came home after midnight, exhausted from a double shift at the hospital. Jasmine heard her trying to be quiet, but the apartment was too small for real privacy. She pulled her sleeves down and pretended to be asleep when her mother peeked into her room. Love you, baby, her mother whispered to the darkness. Love you too. Mom, Jasmine whispered back. She lay awake for hours after that, staring at the ceiling and planning. Tyler Hutchinson thought she was nobody. Nothing. A charity case who would take whatever he dished out because she had no other choice. He thought her silence was weakness. Her restraint was fear. He had no idea how wrong he was. The next morning, Jasmine dressed carefully, long sleeves to hide the bruises, and her most comfortable jeans in case she needed to move quickly. Her hair pulled back in a tight bun that wouldn't give anyone anything to grab. She looked at herself in the cracked bathroom mirror and saw her father looking back, the same determined jaw, the same eyes that could go from warm to dangerous in a heartbeat. Never start a fight, she whispered to her reflection, repeating the words her sensei had drilled into her from her first day at the dojo. But always know how to end one. She arrived at school early, hoping to avoid Tyler and his crew before first period. But as she turned the corner toward her locker, she saw them already there, waiting. Tyler was leaning against her locker, tossing something from hand to hand. As she got closer, she realized what it was: her combination lock, cut clean through. Morning? Charity case. Tyler called out cheerfully. Hope you don't mind, but we did a little early morning cleaning. Your locker was bringing down the whole hallway's property values. Her locker door hung open. Her books were scattered on the floor, pages torn out and crumpled. Her spare clothes, the ones she kept for after gym class, were in a pile, and she could smell the distinct odor of spoiled milk. Oops, Brad said with fake concern. Looks like my chocolate milk had an accident. Jake was filming everything on his phone, grinning. This is going to be legendary. Jasmine stood perfectly still, cataloging the damage. 3 textbooks destroyed $60 each that her mother couldn't afford to replace. Her notebooks with weeks of careful notes, ruined. Her gym clothes, the only extra set she had, soaked in spoiled milk. What's wrong? Tyler stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, meant only for her. Gonna cry? Gonna run to the teachers? Or maybe... He reached out toward her face. Maybe you need another lesson about knowing your place. That's when everything went wrong. Or right. Depending on your perspective. Jasmine had been controlling her breathing, keeping her temper in check, reminding herself of all the reasons she couldn't afford to react. But when Tyler's hand moved toward her face, the same hand that had left bruises on her armor, body moved without conscious thought. She caught his wrist in a grip that made him gasp, her thumb finding the pressure point that sent shooting pain up his arm. His eyes widened in shock. I said, she repeated, her voice calm and cold. Don't touch me. Let go, he snarled, trying to pull away, but she held firm, applying just enough pressure to keep him in place without causing real damage. Yet, yo? What the hell? Brad stepped forward, but Jake grabbed his arm. Dude, she's doing some kung fu shit, Jake whispered, his phone still recording. Tyler tried to swing with his other hand, a wild haymaker that telegraphed his intention from a mile away. Jasmine released his wrist and stepped inside his reach. Her movements, fluid and economical. 8 years of training took over muscle memory deeper than thought. She redirected his momentum, her hip checking his, her hands guiding his arm up and over. The world spun for Tyler Hutchinson as his feet left the ground. He had a moment of pure confusion. He was the quarterback, the athlete. The strong one before his back met the hallway floor with a sound like thunder. The impact knocked the breath from his lungs. He lay there, gasping like a fish, staring up at the fluorescent lights that suddenly seemed too bright. Around them, students who had been trickling in for early morning activities stood frozen, phones out, recording everything. Jasmine stepped back, her hands at her sides, her breathing controlled. She looked down at Tyler, then at Brad and Jake, who were staring at her like she'd grown a second head. I've been doing judo since I was 9, she said conversationally, as if she hadn't just flipped the most popular guy in school like he weighed nothing. My sensei always said it was about using an attacker's strength against them. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. She paused, tilting her head. I guess he was right. Tyler rolled onto his side, coughing. You're dead. You're so dead. Do you know who my father is? Alavier, right? Jasmine crouched down beside him, her voice still eerily calm. That's good. He can explain to you about assault and self-defense. See? You grabbed me first. Yesterday and today. And all these people? She gestured to the growing crowd. They saw everything, recorded everything, including how you and your friends destroyed my property and tried to attack me when I asked you to stop. That's assault and vandalism. A voice called out from the crowd. Everyone turned to see Marcus Williams, president of the debate team and heading to Yale next year. Pushing through the crowd. My mom's a judge? What Tyler did constitutes criminal mischief and assault. What Jasmine did was textbook self-defense. Shut up, Marcus, Brad snarled. But his voice lacked conviction. The dynamic was shifting, and everyone could feel it. Tyler struggled to his feet, his face red with humiliation and rage. This isn't over. Yes, Miss. Rodriguez's voice cut through the tension like a blade. It is. The crowd parted as the vice principal strode through, followed by 2 security guards and Principal Morrison himself. Miss. Rodriguez looked at the destroyed locker, the scattered books, Tyler's disheveled state, and Jasmine standing calmly in the middle of it all. Everyone who's recording, please don't delete anything. We'll need those videos for the investigation. She turned to Tyler, Brad, and Jake. You 3? Principal's office. Now, but she, Tyler started, assaulted you? Miss Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. I've already received 6 different videos from students who saw the whole thing. Would you like to change your story? Tyler's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For possibly the first time in his life, his privilege couldn't protect him from consequences. Jasmine, Principal Morrison said, his voice gentler. Are you hurt? She shook her head. No? Sire. Good. We'll need a statement from you. But, he looked at her destroyed belongings. Why don't you go to the counselor's office first? We'll have someone clean this up and replace your books. As the administrators led Tyler and his crew away, the crowd began to disperse. But not before several students approached Jasmine. That was incredible, a girl whispered. He's been terrorizing people for years. About time someone stood up to him. Another added, Marcus lingered, studying her with intelligent eyes. That was judo, right? Which dojo? Chicago Youth Center. Jasmine replied, still processing what had just happened. Master Kim's school. His eyes widened with recognition. No way. The Master Kim? Olympic bronze medalist? National championship coach? She nodded. And suddenly Marcus laughed. Tyler had no idea what he was messing with. You could have hurt him a lot worse. I know, Jasmine said quietly. That's why I didn't. By lunch, the videos had spread through the school like wildfire. Charity case flip was trending locally, though Jasmine didn't know it yet. She sat in the same corner of the cafeteria, but this time she wasn't alone. A steady stream of students approached her tablesome to congratulate her, others to share their own stories of Tyler's bullying. He poured paint in my locker freshman year because I beat him in a history test. One girl shared, broke my phone because I wouldn't let him copy my homework. Added another, started a rumor that I was gay because I wouldn't date him. A third said quietly, made my life hell for months. Story after story painted a picture of someone who'd been untouchable for too long, whose parents' money and influence had shielded him from consequences while he made life miserable for anyone he deemed beneath him. Why didn't anyone report him? Jasmine asked. The students exchanged glances. Finally, Marcus spoke up. His dad's James Hutchinson, big shot lawyer. Handles the school's legal issues. His mom's on the board. Complaining about Tyler was a good way to find yourself suddenly having disciplinary issues or losing your spot in advanced classes. But you flipped the script? The girl who'd had paint poured in her locker said with something like awe, literally, and with everyone recording, they can't sweep it under the rug. That afternoon, Jasmine was called to the principal's office. She expected trouble. Despite the self-defense argument, in her experience, the system usually found a way to protect people, like Tyler Wunjan's system, but when she entered, she found her mother already there. Still in her scrubs from a shortened shift, Principal Morrison and Miss Rodriguez sat across from them, with papers spread on the desk. "Mom," Jasmine said. Surprised, her mother pulled her into a fierce hug. "Baby, are you okay? They called me, told me what happened. I'm fine. Mom, I'm sorry. I know you said to keep my head down. But, don't you dare apologize." Her mother pulled back, eyes blazing. "That boy put his hands on you. You defended yourself. I'm proud of you." Principal Morrison cleared his throat. "Miss Carter, we've reviewed all the video evidence and witness statements. It's clear that Mr. Actis Hutchinson was the aggressor, and that your daughter showed remarkable restraint, given her capabilities. 8 years of judo training?" Miss Rodriguez added with something that might have been admiration, including 3 state championships in Illinois. "You didn't mention that on your transfer papers." Jasmine shrugged. "It didn't seem relevant to my education." "Well, it's relevant now," Principal Morrison said. "Mr. Hutchinson and his friends have been suspended, pending a full investigation. We've also discovered this isn't the first incident, just the first one we have irrefutable proof of. Several students have come forward with complaints dating back years." "What about retaliation?" Jasmine's mother asked. "Ever practical. The Hutchinsons have money, influence, which is why we're being very careful to do this by the book," Miss Rodriguez assured her. "The video evidence is clear. Multiple witnesses. And frankly, the school board is more concerned about the potential lawsuit from allowing a pattern of bullying to continue unchecked than they are about the Hutchinsons' donations." She slid a paper across the desk. This is a formal apology from the school for failing to provide a safe learning environment. We're also replacing all of Jasmine's damaged property at the school's expense and providing her with a new locker in a more supervised area." "And Tyler?" Jasmine asked. Principal Morrison's expression hardened. "Will be facing the consequences of his actions for the first time in his life? His father is already here, threatening legal action. But our lawyer, not Mr. Hutchinson, obviously has made it clear that any lawsuit would open them up to significant liability for Tyler's pattern of behavior." As they left the office, Jasmine's mother took her hand. "I'm sorry, baby. I told you to be invisible because I thought it would keep you safe. But maybe what you did today will make it safer for everyone." The next few days were surreal. Tyler's suspension became official, 2 weeks pending potential expulsion. Brad and Jake got 1 week each. The school implemented new anti-bullying measures with actual teeth, and Jasmine, who had wanted nothing more than to be invisible, found herself unexpectedly visible in ways she'd never imagined. Students nodded to her in the halls with respect. Teachers who had previously looked through her suddenly knew her name. The lunch table that had been empty now regularly hosted a rotating group of students who'd found courage in her example. "You know what the craziest part is?" Marcus said one day at lunch, scrolling through his phone. "Tyler's been posting on social media about how he's the victim. Says you used excessive force and that the school is discriminating against him." Jasmine nearly choked on her sandwich. "Excessive force? I used one basic throw. If I'd wanted to use excessive force, he'd still be in the hospital. That's what everyone's saying in the comments?" Another student chimed in. "Someone slowed down the video. You had like 6 opportunities to really hurt him and didn't take any of them. My sensei would have killed me if I had." Jasmine said, "The point of martial arts isn't to hurt people. It's to protect yourself and others. Tyler wasn't a threat after that. Throw, he was done. Anything more would have been assault on my part. See? That's what makes this so perfect." Marcus grinned. "You didn't just beat him physically. You beat him morally, ethically, and legally. He's got nowhere to run." But Tyler Hutchinson wasn't done yet. Friday morning arrived with an unusual tension in the air. Jasmine felt it the moment she stepped off the BUSA charge in the atmosphere, like the minutes before a thunderstorm. Students whispered in clusters, shooting her meaningful looks before quickly averting their eyes. "Jasmine!" Marcus jogged up to her, slightly out of breath. "Thank God you're here. Have you checked social media this morning?" She shook her head. "I don't really do social media." "Why?" His face was grim as he pulled out his phone. "Tyler's dad hired a PR firm. They're spinning this whole thing. Look." The video on his screen showed Tyler sitting in what looked like an expensive home office, his face arranged in an expression of wounded sincerity. He wore a neck brace Jasmine was certain he didn't need. "I just wanted to welcome the new student," Tyler's recorded voice said, somehow managing to sound both hurt and condescending. "Yes, maybe my jokes went too far, but I never imagined she would respond with such violence. I'm an athlete, me. Body is my future. She could have ended my career because of a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Jasmine said flatly. "He destroyed my property and grabbed me. It gets worse." Marcus swiped to another video. This one showed Tyler's father, the infamous James Hutchinson, in full lawyer mode. "Lincoln High has allowed a dangerous student to remain on campus," the elder Hutchinson declared. "A student with extensive martial arts training who failed to disclose this capability on her enrollment forms. This is akin to bringing a weapon to school. We're exploring all legal options to ensure the safety of all students, including my son." Jasmine felt her stomach drop. "He's trying to get me expelled." "He's trying to get you arrested?" Marcus corrected. "But here's the thing. The whole school's on your side. Look at the comments." The comment section was a war zone. But the support for Jasmine far outweighed Tyler's defenders. Students from years past had come forward with their own Tyler stories. Someone had even created a compilation video showing every angle of the incident, clearly demonstrating that Tyler was the aggressor. "Doesn't matter," Jasmine said quietly. "He has money and lawyers. My mom and I have." She trailed off, not wanting to admit just how little they had. "You have us," a voice said behind them. They turned to find a group of students, maybe 15 or 20, wearing matching t-shirts with numbered Team Jasmine printed on them. "Are you serious?" Jasmine asked. "Stunned. Dead serious." said the girl who'd told her about Tyler pouring paint in her locker. Jasmine had learned her name was Sarah Chen. "We've been organizing all week. Tyler's gotten away with terrorizing people for too long. If they want to fight, they've got one. My older brother's a civil rights lawyer in the city," another student added. "He says what the Hutchinsons are doing could be considered harassment and defamation. He's willing to help pro bono if needed." Jasmine blinked back sudden tears. After years of being the outsider, the new kid, the one who didn't belong, this show of solidarity was overwhelming. "I don't know what to say," she managed. "Say you'll let us help," Sarah said firmly. "Tyler's had his crew for years. Now you have yours." The morning passed without major incident, though Jasmine noticed increased security presence. Teachers watched the hallways more carefully. Principal Morrison himself seemed to be everywhere, his presence a clear warning against any retaliation. But Tyler was smarter than that. The attack came from an unexpected direction during third period. Jasmine was in chemistry, carefully measuring compounds for a lab experiment. When the classroom phone rang, Mrs. Patterson answered, her face growing increasingly concerned. "Jasmine," she said slowly, "you're needed in the office. Bring your things." The walk to the office felt like a funeral march. Students peered out of classroom doors as she passed, word somehow already spreading that something was happening. When she arrived, she found the space packed with people. Principal Morrison sat behind his desk, face grave. Miss Praterett Rodriguez stood to one side, but what made Jasmine's heart sink were the two police officers flanking the door and the woman in the severe suit who could only be a lawyer. "Miss Carter," the woman said, her voice crisp and professional. "I'm Patricia Morse, representing the Hutchinson family. We're here because my client has filed a formal complaint regarding the assault that took place on school property. It was self-defense," Jasmine said immediately. "That's for the courts to decide." Patricia Morse replied smoothly. "In the meantime, we're requesting that you be immediately removed from school property for the safety of other students." "This is ridiculous," Miss Rodriguez interjected. "We have video evidence." "Video evidence that shows Miss Carter using potentially lethal force against an unarmed student," the lawyer interrupted. "A student who may have permanent spinal damage from the assault." "That's a lie," Jasmine said hotly. "I used a basic hip throw. He landed on his back, not his neck or head. If he has spinal damage, it's from something else." One of the police officers, a younger black woman with kind eyes, spoke up. "We're not here to arrest anyone. We're just conducting a preliminary investigation." "Miss Carter, can you tell us about your martial arts training?" Jasmine straightened. "I've been studying judo for 8 years. I'm a second-degree black belt, trained under Master Kim in Chicago. I've competed at state level and won multiple championships. And this training includes techniques that could cause serious injury," Patricia Morse pressed. "All martial arts include those techniques," Jasmine replied. "But we're trained from day one to use only the force necessary to defend ourselves. What I used on Tyler was the absolute minimum needed to stop his attack." "You flipped a student onto concrete," the lawyer said. "I redirected his attack using his own momentum," Jasmine corrected. "On linoleum, not concrete, in a way specifically designed to minimize injury. If I'd wanted to hurt him, I could have." "Is that a threat?" Patricia Morse pounced. "It's a fact," Principal Morrison interjected firmly. "One that actually supports Miss Carter's restraint." "Officer," he looked at the female cop, "Williams," she supplied. "And I have to say, having reviewed the video footage, I'm seeing clear self-defense. The Hutchinson boy grabbed Miss Carter first, attempted to strike her, and she responded with minimal force." "Minimal?" Patricia Morse pulled out a tablet. Swiping to a photo, "My client has extensive bruising." Officer Williams studied the image. "Ma'am, with all due respect, I've been a cop for 12 years. Those bruises aren't consistent with being thrown. They look more like, well, like someone who's been in multiple fights or contact sports. Are you suggesting my client fabricated evidence?" The lawyer's voice turned icy. "I'm suggesting bruises take time to form, and these look older than 3 days." Officer Williams replied evenly. "But that's just my professional opinion." The room fell silent. Principal Morrison cleared his throat. given that there's no immediate threat and this is clearly a matter for investigation, not emergency response. I see no reason to remove Miss Carter from school. She has a right to education while any legal matters are resolved. Patricia Morse's expression could have frozen hell. This isn't over. We'll be pursuing this through proper channels, and I strongly suggest, Miss Carter, that you retain legal counsel. After the lawyer and police left, Jasmine slumped in her chair. My mom can't afford a lawyer. Already handled. Miss, Rodriguez said, surprising everyone. Marcus Chen's brother isn't the only lawyer who's offered to help. Turns out, quite a few Lincoln High alumni have stories about Tyler Hutchinson. They're very interested in ensuring justice is actually served this time. Why are you helping me? Jasmine asked. Genuinely confused. I'm nobody special. I've been here less than a month. Principal Morrison leaned forward. Miss Carter, in the past 3 years, we've had 47 complaints about Tyler Hutchinson. 47, and every single one was withdrawn or buried because people were afraid of the family's influence. You're the first person who stood up to him in a way that couldn't be covered up or explained away. You gave other victims courage. Miss Rodriguez added, do you know how many students have come forward this week? Not just about Tyler, but about other bullies too. You've started something we've been trying to accomplish for years, real change in the culture of this school. Jasmine left the office to find the hallway packed with students. They erupted in applause when they saw her, and she felt her face burn with embarrassment. Yo, Jasmine, someone called out. Is it true they tried to arrest you? They're saying Tyler's faking his injuries. Another added, my cousin works at the urgent care he went to, said he walked in fine and suddenly needed a neck brace when he found out they had cameras. The story spread through the school like wildfire, each retelling adding more details about Tyler's apparent deception. By lunchtime, number Tyler the Faker was trending alongside number Team Jasmine. Sarah found Jasmine in the cafeteria. Emergency meeting after school. We're organizing a peaceful protest for Monday. If the Hutchinsons want to play dirty, we'll show them what student solidarity looks like. I don't want anyone getting in trouble for me. Jasmine protested. This isn't just about you anymore. Sarah said firmly. This is about every kid Tyler tormented. Every complaint that got buried. Every time money mattered more than justice. You were just the spark. We're the fire. That weekend, Jasmine tried to focus on homework and training, but social media exploded with activity. Students shared their Tyler stories. Parents chimed in with their own concerns about bullying at Lincoln High. Local news picked up the story, framing it as a David versus Goliath tale. New student from a struggling single-parent household against the established wealthy family. Sunday evening, Jasmine's phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Don't hang up. It was Tyler. Please. Every instinct told her to end the call, but something in his voice made her pause. What do you want? To apologize. Really apologize. Can we meet? Somewhere public? You can bring people if you want. I need to talk to you. Why should I trust you? A long pause. Because my dad's about to destroy my life worse than anything you could have done. And you're the only person who might understand why I need to stop this. Against her better judgment, Jasmine agreed to meet him at a coffee shop downtown, with Sarah and Marcus as backup. Tyler showed up alone, looking haggard. The neck brace was gone. That was fake, wasn't it? Jasmine said without preamble. He nodded, sinking into a chair. Dad's idea. Said we needed sympathy. Evidence of injury. He laughed bitterly. You want to know the truth? The worst injury I got was to my ego. You threw me like I weighed nothing. Do you know how that feels to someone who's been told their whole life they're superior to everyone else? Am I supposed to feel sorry for you? Sarah interjected coldly. No? Tyler said quickly. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for, I don't know, a way out of this that doesn't end with either of us destroyed. Your dad seems pretty intent on destroying me. Jasmine pointed out. Tyler rubbed his face. My dad doesn't care about me. He cares about image, about power, about winning. When I told him what really happened, he said I was weak, said a real Hutchinson would never let some... He stopped, swallowing hard. He used words I won't repeat. About you, about your mom, about where you come from, and you're just now realizing your dad's racist, Marcus said incredulously. No. Tyler struggled for words. I knew. I benefited from it. So I ignored it. Repeated it. God. The things I said to you. The charity case stuff. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Jasmine studied him. She developed a good sense for when people were lying, another survival skill from changing schools so often. Tyler seemed genuinely distressed. What do you want me to do? She asked finally. Your dad's not going to stop just because you apologized. I want to tell the truth. Tyler said, publicly, on record, that I was the aggressor, that you defended yourself appropriately, that I've been bullying people for years because I want to tank his whole case. He'll destroy you, Sarah said, a note of surprise in her voice. Tyler's smile was grim. Probably, but at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. And maybe it'll help change things. Not just for Jasmine, but for everyone I've hurt. Why now? Jasmine pressed. What changed? Tyler was quiet for a long moment. My little sister, she's in middle school, came home crying on Friday because some kids were bullying her friend, calling her names I used to call people. And when Emma tried to stand up for her friend, they said, "What are you gonna do? Tell your brother? He's the biggest bully in town." His voice cracked. My 12-year-old sister is ashamed of me, and she should be. They sat in silence, processing this unexpected turn. If you're serious, Marcus said slowly, we'll need it documented, video statement, written affidavit, the works. And you'll need your own lawyer because your dad will come after you hard. I know, Tyler said. I've already called my mom's divorce attorney. Turns out she's been documenting Dad's behavior for years. This might be the push she needed to finally leave him. The next morning, Lincoln High witnessed something unprecedented. Tyler Hutchinson stood on the front steps with a portable microphone, the same spot where he'd held court so many times before. But this time, he wasn't surrounded by his usual crew. I need to say something, he began, his voice carrying across the gathered crowd. Last week, I assaulted Jasmine Carter. I grabbed her, tried to hit her, and she defended herself. Everything my father's been saying is a lie. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out, recording every word. But that's not all. Tyler continued. For the past 4 years, I've made life hell for anyone I saw as beneath me. I've destroyed property, spread rumors, hurt people physically and emotionally. I did it because I could. Because my family's money and influence protected me. Because I was taught that some people matter and some don't. He looked directly at Jasmine, who stood at the edge of the crowd with her growing group of supporters. I was wrong about everything. Jasmine Carter isn't a charity case or a nobody. She's someone who stood up to a bully when no one else could. She showed more restraint and character in that moment than I've shown in my entire life. And if anyone should be removed from this school, it's me, not her. Principal Morrison and several teachers watched from the entrance, but no one moved to stop him. I'm withdrawing from Lincoln High, Tyler announced, effective immediately. I'll be finishing my senior year at Riverside Alternative School while getting counseling for anger management and other issues. To everyone I've hurt, and I know there are dozens of you, I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but it's a start. He set down the microphone and walked toward the parking lot, where his mother waited in her car pointedly, not his father's luxury SUV. As he passed Jasmine, he stopped. Thank you, he said quietly, for showing me who I really was, and for giving me a chance to be better. Jasmine nodded, not trusting herself to speak. As Tyler's car pulled away, the crowd erupted in discussion. This wasn't the ending anyone had expected. Patricia Morse arrived an hour later, her face thunderous, demanding to see Principal Morrison, but her threats rang hollow now. With Tyler's public confession, testimonies from dozens of students, and video evidence from multiple angles, the Hutchinson lawsuit evaporated like morning mist. James Hutchinson tried to salvage his reputation, claiming his son had been manipulated and was clearly suffering from trauma-induced confusion. But the damage was done. The school board quietly suggested he step down from his advisory role. His law firm lost 3 major clients who didn't want to be associated with the scandal. Within 6 months, the Hutchinsons would quietly sell their house and leave town. For Jasmine, life at Lincoln High transformed completely. no longer invisible. She found herself at the center of a cultural shift. The anti-bullying initiative she'd inadvertently sparked became a model for other schools. She started teaching a self-defense club after school, focusing not just on physical techniques but on confidence, awareness, and when to walk away versus when to stand your ground. The goal isn't to hurt anyone, she told her students at their first meeting, echoing her sensei's words. The goal is to protect yourself and others. Sometimes that means using force, sometimes it means using words, sometimes it means getting help, but it always means refusing to be a victim or letting others be victimized. The club grew from 15 students to 50 within a month. Sarah became her co-instructor, teaching the verbal self-defense component to document harassment, when to involve authorities, how to build support networks. Marcus led a parallel initiative focusing on bystander intervention. "We can't all be Jasmine," he said at one assembly. "Not everyone has 8 years of judo training, but everyone can speak up. Everyone can refuse to be silent when they see injustice." By graduation, Jasmine had been accepted to 3 colleges with full scholarships. Her grades had always been excellent, but her essay about standing up to bullying and creating change resonated with admissions committees. She chose State University, which had both a strong pre-med program and an excellent martial arts team. At the graduation ceremony, as she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, the crowd erupted in applause. In the audience, her mother wiped away tears of pride. Master Kim had driven down from Chicago for the occasion, beaming like a proud grandfather. "You honored everything I taught you," he told her afterward, "not by fighting, but by knowing when to fight and when to show mercy. That is true strength." Tyler kept his word about getting help. He sent Jasmine a letter 6 months later, not asking for forgiveness but updating her on his progress. He was volunteering at a youth center, teaching kids about the dangers of bullying from the perspective of someone who'd been the bully. It wasn't redemption that would take years, maybe a lifetime, but it was a beginning. The last day of school, Jasmine cleaned out her locker, a different one from where everything had started. No vandalism this time. No threatening notes. Instead, she found a small card tucked into the door. "Thank you for showing us we don't have to be afraid anymore. Everyone who needed a hero." She smiled, tucking the card into her pocket. She hadn't set out to be anyone's hero. She just wanted to be left alone, to get through high school without drama. But sometimes life has other plans. Sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone who can't. As she walked out of Lincoln High for the last time, Jasmine reflected on how different this exit was from her entrance 9 months earlier. Then, she'd been desperate to remain invisible, to survive without making waves. Now, she left behind a legacy of change, a school transformed, and the knowledge that one person's courage really could make a difference. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Celebration dinner tonight? The whole crew's coming?" Jasmine smiled, typing back, "Wouldn't miss it," because that was perhaps the greatest transformation of all. The girl who'd eaten lunch alone in the corner now had a crew. The charity case had become a champion. The nobody had become somebody, not through violence or intimidation, but through the simple act of refusing to let anyone make her feel like less than she was. As her mother always said, education was the one thing no one could take away from you. But Jasmine had learned something else at Lincoln High. Dignity was another, and sometimes defending that dignity could change everything.